So the Warriors have the Rockets in the first round. Golden State's performance against Houston this season was statistically solid, but not invincible. They won 3 of the 5 games, so yes, they took the series, but if you're actually paying attention to the numbers, the margin was razor thin. Across all matchups, the Warriors scored a total of 517 points. The Rockets scored 509. That's an 8-point gap. 8, not exactly the kind of dominance that screams unstoppable juggernaut, especially for a team that came into the season with a 15-game win streak over Houston. That streak, it died, by the way, snapped mid-season like a dry twig. The Warriors averaged just over 103 points per game across the series. That's fine, but not mind-blowing, especially when you factor in their overtime boost in one game. Take that extra 5 minutes out and the scoring drops even more. They were efficient when it counted, but not consistently explosive. And the Rockets, they averaged a little over 101 points per game. The difference? Basically one missed free throw and a lazy closeout. For a team that had been dominating Houston for years, Golden State barely scraped by this time. What made this series interesting was how volatile Golden State's offense became under pressure. In their 3 wins, they averaged around 110 points. But in their 2 losses, that number plummeted to just 93. That's nearly a 20-point swing, depending on whether they won or lost. It tells you the Rockets figured something out. When they tightened up defensively, the Warriors didn't just slow down, they stalled. Golden State's identity has always been rooted in pace, space, and rhythm. But against Houston, that rhythm kept getting interrupted. The Rockets forced bad possessions, closed out hard, and made the Warriors work for every clean look. When Golden State was winning, it was because their shot selection was clean, their passes were sharp, and they were pushing the tempo. But when Houston cranked up the pressure, those looks disappeared. Suddenly, contested shots became the norm, and the Warriors were left scrambling to find their groove. Defensively, the Warriors were solid overall, but not as suffocating as they've been in past seasons. In the 3 games they won, they held Houston under 100 every time. That's a huge plus, but in their losses, the Rockets cleared the century mark with room to spare. It wasn't just a matter of missed rotations. Houston exploited every lapse. Whether it was transition breakdowns or missed assignments in the half court, Golden State's defense had cracks, and the Rockets were happy to pour themselves right through them. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this playoffs. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, individual stats aside, the team level trends were the story here. The Warriors didn't dominate with sheer firepower like they've done before. They won with stretches of discipline and just enough scoring, but there were no blowouts. Every game came down to execution. Every point mattered. That kind of pressure highlights how fragile even elite teams can look when a matchup gets tight. Rebounding across the series leaned slightly in Golden State's favor, but not by much. They were marginally better on the boards, but nothing that shifted momentum. The real battle was in perimeter shooting. When the Warriors hit their threes at even an average clip, they controlled the game. When they didn't, the offense looked disjointed. Their spacing collapsed, and the Rockets pounced. Turnovers were another telling stat. Golden State gave the ball away more in their losses than their wins, and it wasn't even close. In their wins, they averaged fewer than 12 turnovers. In their losses, that number jumped significantly. The Rockets capitalized, converting mistakes into transition points and building confidence. The Warriors weren't always sloppy, but when they were, Houston made them pay for it fast. Free throws also told a quiet story. Golden State didn't get to the line at a dominant rate, and when they did, their percentages were middle of the pack. In tight games, those missed freebies add up. Houston, on the other hand, took advantage of every trip. They didn't need a parade to the line. They just made the ones they got. Efficient, cold-blooded, and totally uninterested in Golden State's reputation. And speaking of reputations, the Curry factor was a statistical roller coaster. Across the 5 games, he ranged from being the heartbeat of the offense to being completely erased. His averages were dragged down heavily by one disastrous outing where he shot 10 times and made only 1 shot, 3 total points. That one game alone skewed his entire series numbers. Without it, he was his usual dangerous self, but it happened, and it shows that Houston had an answer for him, at least once. Jimmy Butler had his moments too. He wasn't explosive every night, but his presence gave Golden State another scoring option and some veteran stability. When Curry struggled, Butler filled gaps. He didn't carry the series, but he kept the Warriors from unraveling completely. That balance kept Golden State afloat when things got dicey. Overall, Golden State won the series. That part's not up for debate, but this wasn't a case of one team walking all over the other. The Rockets played them tight, adjusted quickly, and exposed flaws. The Warriors had more talent on paper, sure, but Houston didn't care. They closed the gap, forced low-scoring battles, and handed Golden State 2 well-earned losses, including one on their home floor where they held them under 100. Golden State's average margin of victory was slim, and when you zoom out, their statistical advantage looks more like a coin flip than a statement. It wasn't a blowout series, it was a chess match. And while the Warriors walked away with 3 wins, Houston walked away with a blueprint. But when we look at the upcoming series, a lot of it comes down to individual matchups. And let's start with Curry versus VanVleet. Curry's regular season this year was a showcase in elite efficiency, veteran control, and statistical precision. At 36 years old, he's still the engine of Golden State's offense, and the numbers prove it. He averaged 24.5 points per game on a true shooting percentage of 61.8%, which is outrageous considering the volume he maintained. He led the entire league and made 3-pointers for the 10th time, dropping nearly 5 a game on almost 12 attempts. That's not just high volume, that's high difficulty, high pressure, and still high conversion. His effective field goal percentage sat at 57.2%, showing how absurdly efficient he was from all over the floor, especially when you consider that almost half his shots came from behind the arc. He got better when it mattered most too. In clutch minutes, his true shooting jumped to 68%, and he hit free throws at a career-high 93.3%. That's where you see the elite separation. Most players tighten up in big moments. Curry just locks in. Then came April. That's when Curry looked like he was trying to remind everyone who he is. He averaged 30.9 points per game during the final 9 games of the season, finishing with a dominant 37 in the play-in clincher against Memphis. That wasn't just a hot streak, it was targeted output with the playoffs in sight. When Golden State needed wins, Curry turned up the scoring without forcing anything. The spacing, the timing, the flow, it was all sharp. But scoring's only half of what he did this year. His playmaking remained sharp at 6 assists per game, and he kept his turnover numbers low. A 2.4 assist-to-turnover ratio isn't eye-popping until you realize he carried a usage rate of 29.8%, highest on the team. He had the ball constantly, made most of the right reads, and rarely gave it away. That's hard to do in this offense, which depends on movement, timing, and constant decision-making. Defensively, no one's going to call him a lockdown guy, but he was active. He averaged over 1 steal per game, generated over 4 deflections per 75 possessions, and his on-court presence created a nearly 9-point swing in net rating. Golden State went from plus 8.9 when he played to minus 3.4 when he sat. The offense without him, it dropped from 116.8 in rating to 105.3. So yeah, he mattered a lot. Now, what does he need to do to beat Houston in this first round? It starts with figuring out Amen Thompson. The last time they played, Thompson held him to 3 points, 1 for 10 shooting. That wasn't a fluke. Thompson stuck to him for over 4 minutes of matchup time and smothered every look. Curry's counter has to be his off-ball movement. He covers nearly 12 miles per 24 minutes on the floor. That's 5th in the league. If he can keep Thompson chasing him through screens, handoffs, and relocations, he'll wear him down and create space. Houston's transition defense is also a weak spot. They give up 1.12 points per possession in transition, ranked 20th in the league. Curry, on the other hand, scores at 1.28 points per possession when leading the break, which puts him in the 92nd percentile among all ball handlers. Golden State needs to push the tempo, and Curry has to exploit every sloppy turnover or long rebound Houston gives up. Then there's the possession battle. Houston leads the entire league in offensive rebounding with a rate over 32%. That's a problem. The Rockets average over 18 second chance points a game. The Warriors can't afford to give up those extras, and while Curry's not the guy boxing out in the paint, he can still impact things with communication and transition setups. His low turnover rate, just under 10%, is huge here too. Houston forces more turnovers than anyone else in the league at 15.3%. If Curry controls the ball and limits wasted possessions, he prevents Houston from getting into rhythm. And of course, the three-pointer. Houston allows over 36% shooting to point guards from deep. That's bottom 10 in the league. Curry hitting 4 or more threes in a game, Golden State is 34 and 25 when that happens. That's a clear swing fact. If he finds the range early, it opens everything else for the team. But this matchup isn't just Curry versus Thompson. It's Curry versus Fred VanVleet, too. VanVleet's season has been solid. 17.1 points per game, nearly 7 assists, and over 1.5 steals per game. He's been a steady presence and one of Houston's most important players on both ends. But when you stack him against Curry, it's not even close. VanVleet's shooting efficiency is lower across the board. He hit 35% from 3 on just under 8 attempts per game. Meanwhile, Curry hit nearly 40% on nearly 12 attempts. That's a massive gap in volume and precision. On catch and shoot threes, VanVleet converts 35%, Curry 42.3%. VanVleet's off the dribble 3-point percentage, a rough 29.8. That's where Curry's got to make him work, force him to take those pull-ups instead of catching in rhythm. On the playmaking side, VanVleet's assist rate is higher at over 54%, but that's a result of him dominating Houston's pick and roll setups. Golden State's motion offense spreads responsibility, and Curry's assist rate still cleared 31%. Plus, the Warriors system forces more defensive rotations, meaning Curry's passes lead to assists after the next pass. Still, VanVleet's pick and roll game has to be disrupted. He's generating nearly 1 point per possession when he runs it, which is above league average. Curry doesn't have to shut him down, but he's got to apply pressure and make him uncomfortable enough to get Houston off schedule. Defensively, VanVleet's a pest. He's an all-defense candidate with nearly 2 steals per game, but he also turns it over more, over 3.5 times per 100 possessions. That's where Curry can steal possessions back, jump passing lanes, apply pressure in the half court, and force Fred to overplay the action. Every turnover from VanVleet shifts the flow in Golden State's favor. Historically, when these two go head-to-head, Curry wins the matchup. He averages over 30 points per game against VanVleet-led teams, while Fred only puts up around 14. That trend has held for years, and unless something dramatic changes, it favors Golden State again. The challenge now is sustaining that edge over a full series. Curry's got to bring elite shot making, ball security, and movement off the ball. If he can stay active and avoid the kind of shutdown Houston pulled off in April, he's got the edge. If not, and if Thompson and VanVleet both get the better of him on the perimeter, Golden State's going to be in for a long, uncomfortable series. Everything points back to Curry. He's the primary creator, the floor spacer, the leader, and the one who tilts matchups in Golden State's favor. If he plays like he did in April and the numbers stay close to what he's posted all season, Golden State should be in control. But if VanVleet and Thompson continue to frustrate him and drag his numbers down, Houston could make this more than just a scare. It's going to come down to consistency, not just shooting, but control. Curry has to manage pace, resist the turnover pressure, and take every open look without hesitation. His efficiency is the weapon, his experience is the advantage, and his impact on this series, completely unavoidable. If the Warriors want to move on, they'll need every bit of it. But after that, a lot relies on playoff Jimmy. Jimmy Butler's season with Golden State has been the kind of quiet brilliance that doesn't need highlight reels or meme-worthy moments to prove its value. He didn't lead the team in scoring or command nightly headlines, but the numbers paint the full picture. He gave the Warriors 17.5 points per game while shooting over 50% from the field. That alone is efficient. Add in a true shooting percentage of 62.6, and you've got one of the most efficient wings in the league. He wasn't jacking up threes like some volume guys. He only hit 30.8% from deep, but that's never been his focus. He worked in the mid-range, got to the line, and made the most of every trip. Speaking of free throws, he hit 84.2% of them, which kept defenders honest every time he attacked. In the clutch, Butler was even more lethal. His true shooting in those tight moments jumped to 68%, putting him top 5 among all forwards in clutch minutes. That's elite under pressure, not flashy, just ruthless and composed. He wasn't just scoring either. His 5.4 assists per game marked a career high for any season not spent in Miami. That's huge. The Warriors' offense is built on motion and ball sharing, and Butler slotted into that seamlessly. He read defenses, fed cutters, and found shooters. His assist rate bumped noticeably without dragging down his efficiency. That balance, high usage, low turnovers, high assists, is rare, especially for wings who also carry defensive responsibility. Defensively, Butler did what he always does, make life miserable for whoever he was guarding. He averaged 1.4 steals per game, and it wasn't just gambling in the passing lanes. He forced bad decisions. His defensive win shares came in at 2.1, leading Golden State's perimeter defenders, and when he was on the floor, their defense improved by over 4 points per 100 possessions. That's not subtle, that's impact. And when you zoom out, his advanced metrics just keep backing it up. A player efficiency rating of 22.4 is above average for forwards, and his win shares, 8.7, put him in the top 20 league-wide. But the big number, Golden State's net rating, jumped from minus 2.1 without him to plus 11.3 with him on the floor. That's absurd. It basically means the Warriors went from below average to dominant when he played. That's not narrative, that's math. Now let's talk about Jalen Green. He's a totally different kind of player. Young, flashy, and wired to score. He put up 21 points per game this season, which on paper looks impressive. But dig a little deeper and things start to wobble. He shot just over 42% from the field, and while his three-point shooting was decent at 35.4%, his true shooting percentage sat at 54.4%. That's below league average, especially for a guy who takes almost 18 shots a game. Volume without efficiency is a problem, and in the playoffs, that gap gets exposed fast. Green also posted a career high in assists at 3.4 per game. That's nice, but it's not moving the needle much when he's also prone to tunnel vision. He's an isolation scorer, not a floor general. And defensively, the numbers are rough. He gave up over 1.08 points per possession as a primary defender, which puts him near the bottom quarter of all guards. That means he's a target, not a stopper. The advanced metrics confirm what the eye test shows. His player efficiency rating was 15.1, below average for a starting guard. His win shares came in at 4.2. which is literally half of Butler's total. That's not just a small margin, it's a canyon. Green can score, but his game lacks the two-way balance, consistency, and decision-making that Butler brings every single night. And when these two are on the floor against each other, it's going to be a contrast in styles. Green is going to try to explode offensively and create mismatches with speed and athleticism. Butler's going to grind him down, work angles, draw fouls, and set the tempo. If Green gets hot, he can swing momentum. But if Butler controls the pace, Green's efficiency issues and defensive gaps could turn into liabilities fast. Let's look at the head-to-head comparison from the season. Butler averaged 17.5 points. Green had 21. Advantage Green, right? Not really. Butler did it on far fewer shots and with way better efficiency. His true shooting was over 8% higher, which is massive. That means Butler made smarter choices, picked his spots, and converted at a higher rate. That matters more than raw totals. Butler also wins on playmaking, 5.4 assists to Green's 3.4. It's not just about passing. It's about setting up quality looks and keeping the offense humming. Green doesn't do that yet. His offense is built around himself. Butler's is built around making everyone better. Defensively, it's not even close. Butler brings real impact on that end. Green gives it back. The steal numbers favor Butler. The defensive efficiency favors Butler. The on-off splits, you guessed it, Butler again. And when the game gets tight, Butler becomes even more efficient. Green, he falls off. His clutch true shooting was under 50%. Butler's was 68. Butler's win shares, which factor in both offense and defense, are more than double Green's. His player efficiency rating is significantly higher. His team gets significantly better when he's on the floor. Green's team doesn't. That's what makes this matchup so important. Green can get hot. He's got that capability. But Butler has experience. 11 playoff runs to Green's big 0, and that matters. Playoff basketball is slower, more physical, and all about execution. Butler has already proven he thrives in that environment. He doesn't need 30 points to win a game. He'll do everything else: defend, rebound, pass, draw fouls, and still get his points without hijacking possessions. Green, if forced into inefficient ISO looks, could drag Houston down. If Butler gets to control his defensive assignments and funnel Green into low percentage spots, Golden State can completely neutralize that scoring threat. That's where the veteran edge shows up. Butler knows how to force young scorers into frustration. He's done it before. What Golden State needs from Butler in this series isn't scoring bursts. It's control. He's got to lock in on Green, shut down easy transition looks, and make every offensive touch miserable. On the other side, he's got to keep attacking mismatches, find the open man, and make Houston's weaker defenders chase him. If he maintains his clutch efficiency and draws the defense in, the spacing opens up for Curry and the rest of the roster to do their damage. In every major category that matters in the playoffs: efficiency, defense, clutch play, decision-making, Butler has the edge. Green has youth, bounce, and flashes. But flashes don't win a 7-game series. Stability does. Butler gives the Warriors exactly that. If he stays consistent, pressures Green, and keeps the offense flowing, Golden State doesn't just survive this matchup, they take control of it. But then lastly, Draymond will be huge. Draymond Green's defensive legacy has always been about more than just stats. But this year, the stats speak for themselves. At 35, he's still anchoring Golden State's defense with surgical precision and enough psychological chaos to make opposing bigs think twice about even showing up. His defensive rating of 106.3 was the best among Warriors front court players, and it wasn't built on easy assignments. He guarded positions 1 through 5 all year. That's not marketing language. That's real switchability, real footwork, real anticipation. Draymond's 3.1 deflections per game placed him top 5 among all bigs. Add 1.8 steals and 1.2 blocks per game to that, and he's impacting every level of the court. Guards trying to drive, he cuts off the angles. Bigs trying to back him down, they get bumped off their spot and turned into passers. And when they do pass, he's already disrupting the passing lanes. This year, his defensive box plus minus was a plus 3.8, one of the best in the league. He's not just playing defense, he's controlling tempo, controlling emotion, and dragging the Warriors' defensive rating up almost by force. But now, he's got a serious playoff test in Alperen Sengun, who's been one of the most creative post scorers in the league this year. The Rockets run a huge chunk of their offense through Sengun at the elbow and on the low block. He's a rare combination of finesse and vision, scoring at 1.12 points per post-up possession, second only to Nikola Jokic. That's not just good, it's terrifying. He also averaged 5.8 assists per game, making him arguably the best passing big not named Jokic or Sabonis. Sengun isn't just chucking hook shots either, though he's elite there. He made over 68% of those. He's a pivot-heavy, high IQ scorer with the patience to read defenses and find cutters when the double comes. And Golden State has had issues dealing with bigs like that. The Warriors allowed over 1.08 points per possession when defending post-ups this year, which put them in the bottom third league-wide. Looney and JK, while solid in many areas, struggled mightily against skilled bigs. Sengun already burned them once this season with 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists in a February matchup. That wasn't an outlier, that was a red flag. So now it's Draymond's job to shut the whole operation down. First priority, deny deep post position. Sengun becomes significantly more efficient when he catches the ball in the paint. His scoring efficiency jumps from 0.98 points per possession when pushed out to a ridiculous 1.32 when he seals inside. That's a death zone. Draymond has to body him early before the entry pass and keep him off his spots. Luckily, Green knows how to do that without racking up cheap fouls. His playoff foul rate sits at 2.8 per 36 minutes, one of the lowest among physical defenders. Next priority, disrupt the passing lanes. Sengun's vision makes him a hub, and 32% of Houston's offense flows through his elbow touches. That's where Green has to turn him into a liability. Draymond averages over 4 deflections per 36 minutes in the playoff. His career high. He's got the instincts, and more importantly, the freedom in Golden State's system to gamble intelligently. If he can disrupt those elbow sets, he cuts off half of what makes Sengun dangerous. Green also has to force him into pick and roll defense. Sengun gives up over 1.12 points per possession when defending in drop coverage. He's slow laterally and often gets stuck between hedging and recovering. That's a dream setup for Curry and Thompson. Draymond's role there is as the screener, slipping hard and pulling Sengun into space where he has to make quick decisions, something he struggled with. Once he's isolated on a guard, the Rockets' help defense has to collapse, and everything opens up. And then there's the part of the matchup that only Green brings, psychological warfare. Since the 2022 playoffs, Draymond has drawn 12 technical fouls from opposing bigs. That's a skill. It's not always graceful, but it's effective. He talks, he bumps, he leans, he complains, and most importantly, he gets in your head. Sengun, for all his skill, has shown signs of frustration when defenses swarm him. He's had 4 or more turnovers in 8 of his last 10 games against elite defenses. That's the kind of pressure Green thrives in. He doesn't need to block shots. He just needs to crowd the mind. Historically, when Green is Sengun's primary defender, the numbers shift. Sengun drops from over 21 points per game on nearly 55% shooting against the rest of the league to just 16.3 on 44% against Green. His assists dip and his turnovers spike. In terms of offensive rating, Sengun normally hovers around 118. Against Green, that rating crashes down to 102. That's not a slump, that's the Green effect. The paint points tell the same story. Against the league, Sengun averages over 12 paint points per game. Against Draymond, just under 9. That's nearly 4 points lost simply by denying deep touches and bodying early. And once the paint closes, Houston's offense becomes perimeter reliant. That's not their strength. Where this matchup will really swing is in composure. This is Sengun's first playoff series. He's never had to face the adjustments, the physicality, the targeted strategy that playoff basketball brings. Draymond, on the other hand, has done this nearly every year of his career. He's seen every type of offensive scheme. He's played through every kind of hostile crowd. He doesn't just react, he sets traps. He communicates the entire floor. And in a long series, that experience doesn't just matter, it compounds. Every game adds more data for Green to use. Every possession gives him something to exploit. Green's job in this series isn't just to stop Sengun scoring, it's to disrupt Houston's offensive identity. When the Rockets run through Sengun, their ball movement is crisp, and the rhythm is there. When he's shut down or forced into awkward spots, the offense gets jittery. The guards start forcing shots. The passes get tighter. The turnovers pile up. If Draymond can turn Sengun into a turnover machine or neutralize him as a playmaker, Houston's entire structure starts to shake. Golden State doesn't need Green to score. They need him to erase the foundation of the Rockets' half-court game. He's done it before to bigger stars with deeper playoff resumes. And this version of Draymond, calm, calculated, still disruptive, is perfectly built to dismantle someone like Sengun. In short, if Green wins this matchup, Golden State has a clear path to winning the series in 5 or 6 games. They'll choke out the Rockets' offensive rhythm, force them into hero ball, and let their experienced guards control the tempo. But if Sengun dominates, if he controls the paint and threads passes from the elbow, then Houston has a real shot at pulling the upset. This series doesn't just hinge on Curry's scoring or Butler's balance. It hinges on Draymond's ability to erase a mismatch. If he keeps Sengun under control, the Rockets don't have enough weapons to stretch this thing out. That's the assignment. And if history means anything, Draymond's ready for it. But let's see. A first-round series packed with tension, matchups, and the kind of layered history that only makes things more complicated. The Warriors are coming in as the team with rings, experience, and expectations. Houston shows up as the team with energy, youth, and zero interest in respecting either. It's a strange balance. One built less on dominance and more on hesitation. Not the usual heavyweight versus underdog story, but more like a group of veterans trying to hold off a team that doesn't know it's supposed to be nervous. For Golden State, everything is sitting right there in front of them. Talent, structure, elite shot making, and defensive minds who've already lived a dozen playoff lives. But the Rockets have been poking holes in that structure all season. They didn't just win a couple games, they changed the tone of the matchup. They turned it from another Warriors sweep into maybe this gets messy. And maybe that's what makes this series so interesting. The Rockets aren't trying to outstyle Golden State. They're trying to outwork them, outgrind them, get under the skin, play a little ugly, and force the game into places where veterans start looking a little tired and the young legs take over. That's why Golden State's discipline has to be tight. No wasted possessions, no long cold stretches, no leaning on reputation like it's going to carry them through. This series isn't about banners, it's about now, about who can get 3 stops in a row, about who wins the loose ball battle in the middle of the third quarter when both teams are dragging. It's not going to be cute. It's going to be gaps, mistakes, adjustments, and a million decisions made on the fly. Curry can still be the nuclear weapon. He's done it before. He's turned series on a dime with one quarter, one burst of scoring that breaks everything open. But Houston's going to crowd him, chase him, throw length at him, and test his legs. And if the shot isn't falling, it's going to take more than spacing and movement. It'll take patience. He can't be just a scorer. He's got to be the balance. The guy who knows when to strike and when to wait. Every screen, every flare, every possession matters more now because Houston's coming for his rhythm. Butler's got to do the exact opposite. Slow things down, make everything deliberate, take matchups, hold them hostage, and squeeze value out of every trip. His role isn't to keep up with Houston's speed, it's to break their flow. Take the tempo, grab it by the throat, and hold it in place. And when Green is doing the same thing on the other end, getting in heads, breaking the rules of timing, and forcing bigs to play faster than they want, it starts to look like the Warriors are doing what they do best, dictating everything without even touching the ball. And that's the real goal here. Take the series and tilt it off center. Don't let Houston play straight. Don't let them get into rhythm or comfort. Make them second guess every cut, every read, every decision. If Golden State can do that, if they can control tempo without forcing the issue, they'll turn this series from a potential dogfight into a series they manage, one they shape with experience and small advantages that add up fast. But if they let it slip even a little, the Rockets will turn those cracks into openings. They'll turn missed assignments into dunks, turn bad spacing into transition points, turn hesitation into turnovers. Houston's not coming in to lose with dignity. They're here to win ugly. The Warriors have to be okay with that and beat them at their own game when it counts. The beauty, and maybe the problem for Golden State, is that they've been here before. They know the routine, they know the noise, the pressure, the urgency, and they know that knowing isn't enough because Houston doesn't care. They're not measuring themselves against the Warriors' past, they're measuring this moment. They're not going to respect the rings. They're going to attack whoever's in front of them. So now it's about execution. Not talking, not past trophies, not predictions. Execution, rebounds, contests, rotations, help side defense, backdoor cuts, timely passes, rotations again, and more communication. All the things that never make the highlight reels, but win games. That's what Golden State has to lean on now. Because if Curry stays sharp, Butler keeps the game under control, and Green chokes the Rockets' offense in the half court, Golden State will be just fine. Not flawless, not untouched, but fine. But if even one of those things starts to waver, if Curry's efficiency drops, if Butler fades into the background, or if Draymond can't neutralize the paint, it becomes a grind. It becomes a dangerous series, one that might slip away, not because of talent, but because of urgency. This isn't about dominance anymore. It's about details, and the team that handles them better is the one that's going to survive. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this playoff. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.